Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of Disney Plus Reviews. We're going to be, it's a little confusing. We're going to be reviewing episode 2 of The Mandalorian, but it's episode 3 of our show. I'm one of your co-hosts, Phil Sousa, and I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and the original Force-sensitive baby, Jack Altermat.
Hi, you might remember me. I'm the one that scored so high, a midichlorian level, that I ruined all of your dreams by bringing about midichlorians.
You had to get an 800 on the midichlorian test to pass, and
yes.
you got like 11,000.
I got into Jedi Academy at a very young age because of my midichlorian level.
Yeah.
But the problem, guys, sometimes you try to ride that wave, and it didn't get me anywhere. I ended up just working there in the library file place.
Yeah.
And kind of a bummer. They always said I should have done better.
Right. You had so much potential.
I'm like Haru of the Takadura Dojo. I'm like Kung Fu Panda. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, should be better.
You're Poe from...
Hi. Anyway.
Okay, so if you're listening to this, you probably just now, if you had enough time, just listen to episode 2 of the Disney Plus Reviews podcast, and that's because both of these episodes dropped in the same week, so we're kind of doing a twofer as far as our recording schedule. We have to wait as we record this, we're recording on Sunday, going to drop this tomorrow on Monday. We have to wait another 5 more days for episode 3 to come out, but we watched episode 2, and we're ready to talk about it with you. As normal, what we're going to do is we're going to recap the episode, talk about some of our favorite moments, do some questions, thoughts, and predictions for future episodes. And then at the end, if we have time, we'll do a little bit of what else are we watching on Disney Plus.
The cool thing about this Mandalorian episode, the first episode was called Chapter 1. This episode is called Chapter 2, The Child.
There was no name after Chapter 1, was there?
Just said Chapter 1.
Wow, interesting. I guess they didn't want to give anything away.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
Which is smart.
I mean, we already know that there's a child, so Chapter 2, The Child doesn't give anything away. First off, so we're going into recap. Let's get right into it. Get right into the episode.
Yeah.
Just rip this Band-Aid off and just jump in.
You just want to hop into the child, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about bounty hunter, Mandalorian superstar, the Mandalorian. He has found a Yoda baby. You might call him Yalak. I don't know what you're going to call him, but he is a baby Yoda. He's 50 years old. But he's still a baby. Some species, Phil, age slower than others.
Yeah.
I'm sure on planet Earth there's a 20-year-old, Galapagos Island turtle that's still acts like a kid. They're going to live for 200 years. So it still acts like a kid. It's 20.
Yeah.
Some 20-year-olds in America, well, heck, some 40-year-olds in America, they still act like kids because they're going to live for another 200 years.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How old was Yoda in episode?
900 something.
He's over 900.
It's like 900 years old.
So 50 by that standard is very,
Do
very
we
young.
think Methuselah in the Bible, perhaps, who lived longer than any other human?
I've thought about that.
Maybe when he was, say 50, was like, look, I'm still a kid.
It's weird. Man.
Anyway, sorry.
This thing is like Goo Goo Gaga level of baby, but he's also 50 years old.
But has some other aspects that are not Goo Goo Gaga.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
We definitely should have said this already by now. We are going to spoil everything in this episode. If you've not watched episode 2 of The Mandalorian, hit pause, go watch the episode. It's a very short one. You can watch the whole episode in about 27 minutes. So go back, watch those 27 minutes, come back to our podcast and hit play and listen to us talk about it. But we are going to spoil everything that happens.
So here we go.
What's the first thing that happens?
Well, apparently the Mandalorian has to fight off what's this race of people that are in this compound?
Yeah, in the last episode I said Transocean. It's Trandoshans. With a D. Yeah. It's really good action scene. I wish you remembered it.
I don't remember this part. Like, I remember him walking away with the baby into the desert. Maybe I got up for coffee at that point and was like, I don't know. I'd hit play and I walked around to the kitchen and got coffee, and in that amount of time, he was able to, I don't know. It's weird. So
I'll try to pull it up while we're talking.
Go ahead and do that. And anyway, he fights them off, apparently, does survive. And they walk off into the desert with the pod following behind him. My wife watched this and goes,
love that pod.
How is the pod following him?
We don't know exactly at first. But
he has it controlled into his wristband at some point because he has to control it later, and we'll tell you about that. And that thing can move because he's having to chase him at one point too, which is really weird.
Yeah.
The pod has got the Yoda baby is inside of the pod.
It's so cute in that thing. Like just kind of hanging out in there.
So, do you remember when you first saw Gremlins and you saw Gizmo for the first time and his big old brown eyes and his little ears were like,
you just fall in love.
Gizmo, I'm Gizmo. Don't feed me after midnight. And I saw this online somewhere where this Yoda baby actually, Yodas are in general are actually just gremlins that were fed after midnight. So, or got wet or whatever. So, he starts walking. He does not have the access to his ship yet, or the blurgs from the previous episode, because that guy bolted on him and went back to his home because he didn't figure he'd survive. I think he just knew, I've seen this before.
Well, I mean, he kind of made reference to that in the first episode that a lot of people had tried.
Yeah.
Dozens maybe had come and failed.
Because he wants his valley rid of these horrible Transdotion people, and they because they were making problems for him in his valley here. So then basically he starts walking. He finds his ship because he's not going to go back to the. He's not going to go back and talk to the Ugnaught.
We got to address the elephant in the room. So I'm playing it for Jack right now, so he can actually watch it in real time as we're talking about it. But he's walking out with the baby in this pod, whatever, and he gets jumped by. I think there's at least 3 Trandoshans.
Oh no! I don't think these are Transdoshans.
Oh, they're not.
No. I know what you're talking. Oh, I remember this now.
Oh, these are other.
These are like Bosk race. Bosk is another. Is another. He is another. What's it called? What are they called? Bounty hunters. And that's what these guys are. I think these are different than the other ones.
Okay, gotcha.
I think these are different. And I may be wrong. I could be wrong.
One thing we know about them is that at least one of them, probably all 3 of them, are bounty hunters.
Yes.
Because
they have a tracker.
And this is the episode where we learn that he can just flat disintegrate people with his gun.
Yeah.
And he disintegrates one of them with a single blast as he's running towards the baby Yoda.
Right there.
Yeah. And he just goes up in ashes, whatever. And then laying on the ground is another tracking fob.
Yeah. And so I'm telling you, these guys are bounty hunters, and they've been tracking this character, this little Yoda too. And here's the great part: he escapes. He stops here for the night. It looks like he's trying to repair his arm. He's got a big old cut on his arm right here.
Uh-huh.
And the cool thing about this, Baby Yoda is not just a baby Goo Goo Gaga baby, because he realizes what's wrong with him. He sees it. You can see his big old eyes looking at him. He has the ability then to get out of the pod that he's apparently a baby in. He walks up and starts to reach out to the cut on the Mandalorian's arm. The Mandalorian sees him and he's like, "Wait, get back in your
what are you doing?
Get back in your crib or whatever." But it's Baby Yoda, so dude, just let him touch your arm.
Yeah.
He's going to heal you up.
Well, that the first thing I thought of was like, oh, he's doing force heal.
Look how cute.
He's
Look
so
how cute.
The first thing I thought of was, oh, he's doing force heal, but we don't know it in this moment because he doesn't allow him to do it.
He doesn't allow him to do it, and he puts him back in. He tries to come back and do it again.
He gets back out, and then he puts him back in, and he gets back out again.
Yes.
Eventually, he just shuts the lid on him.
Yes.
Just like, stay in there.
He's like, forget you. So anyway, he starts walking. He comes upon his ship. Okay, the next morning comes on ship, and lo and behold,
dude,
Phil,
so great. All the throwbacks that we wanted as a kid are now coming true.
The Jawas, who I don't know if have you ever watched the Rabbids? You know who the Rabbids are?
Yeah.
My son and I was making him forced him to watch this because he's not really bought into Star Wars yet as much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, watch this. This is basically, these characters are just like minions from Despicable Me.
I was watching
this is basically just the Rabbids.
You're the second person that's mentioned the word minions in relation to the Jawas. They're very similar.
But I never really even viewed them in that role because we only saw them one other time. Am I right? And that was on the New Hope.
That's the only part, the movie I can think of that they're
okay, so riddle me this one. Jawas
this is not Tatooine, though.
No, I know. So then think about this. The Jawas are on this episode, a bunch of them, like just bunches of them, and they have scrapped his ship. They have taken stuff off his ship. In their minds...
Pretty fast, by the way.
Oh, they are fast. In their minds, though, they aren't stealing. They're just scavenging.
Right.
This is my stuff now. It's laying here. It's my stuff, so I'm going to take it. They all have this gigantic tank thing.
The
ones on
Sand Crawler, yeah.
Think about that. they're an indigenous creature. They always make this thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
It's really crazy.
It's like ants making an anthill.
Yeah.
Ants making an anthill everywhere they go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The Jawas, everywhere they go, they make this big iron tank thing, and they scrap all your stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, dude, I loved, when I saw the Sandcrawler, I was like, yes.
The
this is
Jawas
awesome.
are very Ewok, by the way.
Yeah.
They're very Ewok, and that's okay. Some people rip on the Ewoks. I have no problem with the Ewoks. They're a little furry creature that's part of this, whatever.
Dude, you know
I have no problem with the Jawas.
You know what I really wanted? And I don't think that we'll ever get this in any Star Wars property. But for years and years, ever since someone saw the first Jawa, everyone's like, what does their face look like? Like, you never see them without their hood.
I don't want to see it. Well, I'm afraid.
I thought for sure one of them was just going to pull back his hood at some point, and we're going to see a Jawa.
I don't want to see it, and it may be because it may be hideous. Yeah. It may be like this horrible disfigurement.
They have like almost like LED eyes.
Yeah,
like
which is
glowing.
really weird.
Yeah,
like that kind of weird, wigs me out.
Yeah,
they could be lizard-like, and I don't want them to. I want them to be fuzzy, like Ewoks.
But you're right; they are very minion-like. A lot
of that.
So, but yeah, it was so funny when like they were literally piecing his ship apart, and then he actually comes over the crest of this mountain and disintegrates several of them like immediately, like no warning shot, like just starts like disintegrating them left and right, and then he runs after the Sandcrawler. Then he has to climb this thing off the side of it, which actually did in Super Star Wars. That's like a level in Super Star Wars. When I was a kid, we had a Super Nintendo game called Super Star Wars, and you actually have to climb this. Like Luke has to climb up
this
the side.
Thing?
The side.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's like a platforming level. Anyway, he's not platforming here. He's literally like trying to
scaling
climb.
it.
Yeah, scaling the side of it, and getting thrown like all kinds of like junk just out of the windows and stuff like that.
And I thought about the Jawas because they're like the epitome, the tippy top of hoarders, of people that just take junk, anything.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're throwing things? They're looking at this pile of stuff they have, and they're like, "Oh, that's not worth anything. Drop it. That's not worth anything.
Right.
Don't. Oh wait, that's worth something. Don't drop that." Like,
yeah.
In my mind, I'm like thinking like, "Why did you drop that? Oh no, that was worth something."
Yeah.
But they think they've got to save themselves from this guy who's now scaling, who took a. Oh, by the way, we forgot this. He literally lines up from a distance on these Jawas, and you may have already said. Did you already say this?
Yeah, he
disintegrates a bunch of them, which is really funny because they're just like gone. He shoots
left
at their ship, and it doesn't do anything to their ship.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, it must only like do its thing against like biological components.
Possibly.
Or something. Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, so he then has to scale it.
He has to chase it at first, and what's following behind him as he's
the crib
running after this thing, because and at first we're like, oh, like the this Baby Yoda or whatever wants to follow his new master or whatever, but no, it's just because of the thing on his wrist.
Yes.
Like it's required to follow him.
Yeah. So it's following him. He climbs up. He gets to the very top, by the way, and the Jawas have these little blaster gun things, and they're like, blah, 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 boom, and they all shoot at the same time, and it shuts down all of his systems, shocks him, and he falls off.
Yeah.
I mean, how many feet tall is this thing? 40 feet? 30 feet?
I mean, that would kill anyone.
Yeah, but not him.
He's a Mandalorian.
Yeah. So anyway, he falls, and then the first thing he looks at is the Baby Yoda looking at him. He ends up walking back to where the Ugnaught Kuil is, and he's like, I didn't think I'd see you again, or I didn't think you'd survive. And he's like, the Jawas took all my ship's parts, and he's like, no, they just scavenged. They're not taking.
Yeah, he said they're not going to destroy anything. He's like, that doesn't matter. That makes no difference to me.
Like, I can take you to them and trade, and you can trade them stuff. He's like, it's my ship. They shouldn't trade.
Yeah. They just need to give it back.
He's like, you have to trade whatever. So anyway, he's like, I'll take you to him. So he takes him to him, and the Jawas are immediately scared of him, which is hilarious.
First, you missed one of the greatest scenes in the. So there, Kuil is talking to him about this, whatever, and they look down at Baby Yoda, and he's swallowing a frog.
Oh my gosh, yes,
whole,
so awesome
with one bite.
This little frog is jumping around. He's like, and he chases it, and he puts it, and he swallows the entire thing.
Dude, it's so great.
It's awesome. And there's the Mandalorian just shakes his head.
Well, at one point he says, "Spit that out," and then he just swallows the rest. And he's just like, whatever. Sorry.
So they go to the Jawas, and the Jawas are like, and they've got their guns up because he's like, they don't like you at all.
He's like, well, I did kill several of them.
I did disintegrate 3 of them. So the funniest thing ever, the Ugnaught walks up. They come around. Ugnaught sits down. The Jawas sit down. Freaking the Mandalorian then comes and crisscross applesauce sits down, and they're all gathered up. And he's like, basically, they want to know what you have to trade with them. And he's like,
I'm not giving them crap.
Give them my stuff. They stole my stuff. He's like, and he starts speaking in Jawa, and they're like, you speak horrible Jawa. You sound like a Wookiee. He's like, what's this sound like? And then he fires his flamethrower at them.
So, okay, before he even sits down, Kuil says, like, they're not going to negotiate you with a gun. So he makes him put the gun away. He's like, your blaster too. So he puts his blaster away. But he's still armed because he has a freaking flamethrower on his arm.
And a grappling hook and all the things.
So he tries to burn him during the negotiation. This guy is not political. He's not. Tact is not in his dictionary.
He then basically they're like, well, we want the what's the first thing they wanted? They wanted the armor. They want your armor, Beskar armor. I'll give us that armor. No, he's not going to give you that. Okay, and by the way, the gun thing, by the way, first.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm not going to give them my gun. Weapons are part of my religion.
Yeah, I like that.
Which is really cool. Like, it's really cool from a tactical standpoint of Mandalorians. This is what they think. They're a warring people. Okay, well, what about this thing over here? Because then they look at Baby Yoda, and he's like, get away from that.
Yeah, you're not.
And they scatter, and they're like, rah! They scatter. And then they're like, what can we give you? And then the Jawas say, Dagawig! And they're like, what is that? And he's like, oh no. And then Ugnaught goes, oh, the egg, not the egg.
He knows exactly what it is.
And he's like, oh, shakes his head. He's like, what egg?
And then they start chanting, Sooka,
Sooka. That's what Sooka, Sooka, Sooka. And they all do. They're so happy. The next thing you see the stupid sand cruiser. And okay, inside the sand cruiser is the Jawa, all the Jawa. And they're all sitting next to the Mandalorian. They're all just hanging out there. Baby Yoda's in front here. And they're just like looking at him. They're so excited about Sooka, Sooka, Sooka.
We don't even know what the egg is at this point. What we do know is that this is apparently what the inside of a sandcrawler cockpit looks like, which we've never seen before.
Which is tiny.
It's super tiny because they're tiny. And so the Mandalorian is like a 6-footer. And so he's like having to like
bend over,
crawl down next to them. But so good.
Yeah. So then they they're driving down into the sand here. They're like, oh, Sooka, Sooka. They come up to this place. They let him off. He walks up to this little cave hole opening thing.
And you still have no idea what's going on. Like, they don't give him any information.
No. And he doesn't give any information. But he intuitively just walks into this cave, which is crazy.
Yeah.
He turns his light on. He looks around. There's some bones laying there.
Yeah.
And then out of the cave comes this rhinoceros-looking creature thing.
It's massive.
Massive. The Baby Yoda has followed him in. You see a blaster thing from the outside, and then he gets ejected, obviously rammed by the horn. His gun jams, and so here comes the rhinoceros thing, and he's kind of screwed.
It's called a mud horn. That's what they call it.
Here it comes, and it's going to ram him.
We're watching it.
His armor up front, his chest plate is already broken off and messed up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so then the rhino looks over at Baby Yoda, charges Baby Yoda in the hover pod, and that's when you see him control it.
And that's when it becomes really clear what's going on with the pod. Like he's controlling it with his arm.
Yeah. And so he moves it out of the way. Here comes this what's it called?
Mud horn.
And it buries him chest first. He tries to throw his flamethrower at it.
And the thing drops his horn onto his chest, basically. And I'm like, that's got to be at least like a half a ton of pressure. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's how tough he is.
That would crush anyone.
And that's what armor's that tough. He ends up putting a grappling hook around him, and then it drags him around in the mud. And then it comes back around and hits him one more time and like basically concusses him. Yeah. And he's like basically about ready to pass out.
At this point,
he's just getting his butt handed to him.
Yeah, there's no fight here. Like he's basically just a punishment box for this thing, and he's gonna beat the tar out of him, and he's probably gonna eat him for lunch. And at this point, I was like, there's no way. Like, how does he get out of this? I thought maybe Kuil might show up to try to help him, like he did last time with the
no.
Those other things.
Kuil's back with the Jawa, and here comes the Mudhorn thing. And he's about done here. He's got his knife out, and here it charges at him, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'll just hope that it runs into this knife. It's this tiny knife, and he holds it up, and then all of a sudden,
you see this little paw,
baby Yoda hand. The Mudhorn stops in his tracks. Gravity ceases to exist as the Mudhorn is hovered,
levitated off the ground.
Levitated.
This thing's a couple tons, probably. It is clearly very, very heavy. And this little baby, I mean, he's 50 years old, but I mean, as far as like force powers and stuff like that, he doesn't really know what he's doing.
He looks over at Baby Yoda.
By the way, he also gets very tired. Like he can raise the Mudhorn for about 20 seconds or so, and then he has to drop him, and then he just immediately passes out. And that shows you like he has incredible power, but he can use it in very short bursts, which I think is really interesting.
Yes.
And then somehow, and this is the only part of the episode that I thought was a little weird, maybe a little dumb. He inserts his knife into one spot and takes this thing out.
Because he knew. He's the Mandalorian. He knows where the spot is to kill it.
Yeah.
And I'm left to believe...
Like the heart or
I'm going to be left to believe that the Ugnaught told him, look, on this creature, you go underneath the neck, right below that, that's where the skin's not as thick. Maybe that's where its heart's at. Maybe that's where its brain's at. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got to fill in some information, I guess.
Yeah. That was the only part that I thought was a little weird. But obviously the big reveal of this entire episode being... this thing has force powers.
Yeah, this baby ain't. It's not much. It's not a normal baby.
Yeah.
So anyway, you know what is this? You know what this is a lot like? This is a lot like Cable in is it Days of Future Past? I'm trying to think of one of the X-Men comics where he has to carry this baby with him. It's like basically the baby that's going to save the world.
Hope Summers.
Hope the baby.
Yeah.
It's very Hope Summers.
It's that series. By the way, that's totally tangent, but that series of comics, which is mostly found in like the Cable 1 through 12 comics, or whatever, is one of my favorite things in Marvel comics.
And I didn't mean to sidetrack, but that's what I always think of when I see this.
We see this egg, and it is the hairiest. It's carpet.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe like a fungus on it, but it really is like a furry thing, probably to keep it warm. But he's walking back, but the Ugnaught and the Jawas don't know that. The Jawas are like, "We're out of here. We're done with this." So they're raising their lift up, and the Ugnaught is like, "No, come back. He'll come back." And they're like, "No, we're going. We're leaving." And so then he comes back over. He goes, "I got it."
And here's what I thought the egg was. I thought it was like literally like one of the most valuable one of the most valuable things on this planet. Like is like made of gold, or they call it
it's their god, or it's their whatever.
It could be religious. It could be worth like just millions of dollars.
This was the best part of the entire episode to me. I replayed this with my wife. I told her why I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Because they're like, what was what did you say the egg was called?
Sooka.
Sooka.
Yeah.
Sooka. They were like, oh, Sooka. Okay, great. Even this, they go, Sooka, Sooka. And then one of the Jawas holds the egg over his head and goes, Sooka, Sooka,
It's
Sooka.
like it's a circle of life moment.
Hands it to another one. He pulls out this little sword, this little knife, cuts the top of it, reaches his hands into Willy Wonka's magical eggs, and then just start eating the inside of the egg.
It's just egg yolk.
And that's all it is. And then the Mandalorian looks at this and shakes his head quietly and just like, I did all this work for that. For them to have egg.
Well, and they give him this thing is worth it. Like this one meal that all of them get to share is basically worth an entire like ship, worth all the valuable parts off of an entire ship. It's one of the weirdest things, but like, and then he like piles this thing up, whatever. Which, by the way, you can see the toilet on the on the side of that thing. But yeah, dude, it's so great. Like,
there it is.
It's so great how it says a lot about how, like, what Jawas truly value, which is basically just food.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's really good though. Like, it was really, really funny. And that was very hard. And that was very Minion. That was very Rabid-like.
Yeah.
For the Jawas to act that way, and I thought it was really, really funny to me. But anyway, so. And
that's kind of the whole episode. That really the only other thing that we see is just kind of this quiet moment between Kuiil and the Mandalorian at the very end. And the Mandalorian is, you know, he's a man of business. He's a man of aggression, but he also like wants to do right by people. And he's just like, hey, I'll pay you. Like, I'll give you whatever you want.
Yeah.
And he turns him down, and he says, hey, look, I could use someone like you on my team. Like you know, you're very valuable in a fight or
crew member. Yeah.
Yeah. He tries to recruit him, and he says, I'm good, man. Like, this is where I call home.
I've spent most of my life Khalil says, I've spent most of my life trying to, working to get out of servitude, and now I want to be able to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
My freedom, basically.
Well, and he says, you brought peace to this valley. Like,
Yes.
this is all I've wanted for the last X number of years, and you've already paid me just by doing that.
One thing he does say, he goes, explain. Khalil goes, well, they're coming back with the shipment or all the stuff piled up. Tell me again what happened.
Oh yeah.
And the Mandalorian goes, I don't know. I don't understand what I saw. I literally don't understand what I saw.
Talk about that. What do you think? What do you think his knowledge of the Force is?
But think about this. Han Solo, back in the New Hope, said, I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things in the galaxy that I couldn't explain that are strange. It's like, but I've never thought of one force holding it all together.
Right.
Or one force. And I think the Mandalorian lives in that same mindset, because you think about like Jedi and you think about the Force or Sith or anything like that. They don't see it every single day.
Right.
They wouldn't see it every single day. Their day-to-day is muddy, hot, sweaty, painful, tough work, not this mythological stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that to him, that idea of what he saw, he can't even explain it. He can't put it into words because he probably has never seen anything like it.
Yeah. Dude, I loved it. I'm going to really enjoy kind of watching him learn about the Force throughout the series. Every movie has that person that is kind of like, just has kind of like the what the heck kind of
what's
moment.
He gonna do and what's he going to do with this baby once he gets it back? Because he's not just going to take it right back. This next episode, I bet the next episode doesn't have a name yet, right?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything on it.
So like he's not just going to take
the
baby like right back.
Let's talk about that. So let's go into predictions and stuff like that.
Will he be able to take it back?
Yeah. Where is he going next? What do you think?
I don't know. I bet there'll be episode 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He
is like minute 1 of episode 3 him just going back to the
I
client?
don't think so. I think there'll be some other.
You think he runs into trouble along
I think
the way,
there'll be some trouble on the way. I think that there'll be other bounty hunters after him. I'm sure there'll be his thing will take off, and they'll be in space, and there'll be something else that follows him, and he'll have to evade it.
We have to believe there's a couple dozen more tracking fobs out there,
yes,
and all those people can track, right? They can kind of track him.
They got there, but they
we don't really know how the tracking fobs work.
Yeah, I mean, other than I don't know. Who knows?
I say he. Because I think they put a lot of cachet into the client and Dr. Pershing, we definitely see them again. I don't know if we see them in episode 3. I think you kind of have to stretch it out a little bit, especially if it's eight episodes. Like I think if you go straight back to the client, then you got to race through the plot pretty fast at that point. Mm-hmm. I think he eventually does get back to the client with the baby though, because I think that we need to know more about Dr. Pershing and what he wants to do with them.
And I wonder if maybe they're or Dr. Pershing and even the client are all killed by someone else.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Pershing is one of the only named characters in the entire series. Like, we know Khalil, his name, but I don't think he's ever voiced. Like, that name is ever voiced in the. Yeah. Like, almost nobody, even the main character of the show
is just the Mandalorian.
The titular character is just the Mandalorian. No one knows his name either. Although the actor did spoil that on an interview. I don't know if you saw that. They can't help
themselves. Actors don't understand like the keeping that away from people.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's like Tom Holland and Spider-Man.
It's not
help himself.
It's not official. I mean, he said it in an interview, but it's not official what his name is. But yeah, Dr. Pershing actually has a name, so I feel like they're gonna do something with that character. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, we'll see how quickly he gets back there. But I think he will.
And I feel like it could be a double cross thing where he gives him the baby, and then, but the baby can, I don't know, how'd the baby get captured in the first place? How is it now? It's like Clunk.
Yeah.
Clunk. He's picked up like a rhino thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't have any. I don't know. Who knows?
One of my other big questions is, how has this thing survived for the last 50 years? Like, is it just recently that he's starting to exhibit force powers and that's why he immediately became valuable overnight? Like, there's no way that this thing has had a bounty hunter come after him every day for 50 years.
Maybe they're nested for 40 years and then all of a sudden in the last 10 years he's been kind of captured. Who knows?
Here's another question for you. When does the Mandalorian take off his helmet?
I don't know. I don't care if he does. I don't want him to. I don't want him to.
You think the answer is
I know what that actor looks like. I don't need to know what it looks like.
So you're saying you're going on record and saying he never takes off his
No,
helmet?
I'm saying I don't care if he does.
Okay, gotcha.
Like it doesn't matter to me. If he does, he does. But I don't know if it does anything for us.
I think here's my guess. Here's my prediction. I don't think he does for the
Does
next.
Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe need to take his helmet off? No.
We're not here to talk about G.I. Joe.
But I'm talking about that, like that same level of cool
Right.
that you don't ever need to see his face. A luchador in wrestling, they don't take off their masks.
You never need to see Jawa's face?
No, I don't want to see that because I don't want it to ruin the cuteness because it may be this hideous worm-infested face.
He's gonna peel off it. He's gonna peel off his.
It's a garbage pail kid.
He's gonna peel off his hood, and it's just gonna be Dave from the Minions.
Gosh.
Anyway, so I think he probably takes his helmet off maybe around episode 5 or so. I don't think he will the next couple episodes.
Maybe him and the armor lady from the first one will
kiss.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe that's how he takes his mask off.
Good episode. Obviously a little bit slower as far as plot development goes. A lot faster as far as minutes on screen go. After 27 minutes, I was surprised the credits were already rolling.
No, that did shock me. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
But it kind of leaves you wanting more. So you're like, it's not a bad idea.
And to be fair, we did get over an hour total, in the first week. So I wasn't upset about it. But with as short as the first episode was, this one was even shorter, which is kind of a little weird.
I think the 40 minutes of the first episode, I think that surprised everybody.
Yeah.
I think they were like, because we're all used to Game of Thrones stuff.
Full hour.
That's an hour plus.
Yeah.
And, or whatever, pick the show that you watch. They do it full length. And it's non-commercials. So it's really long. Like if this was on TV, they would have milked that into, it'd be 45 minutes plus,
We skipped over favorite moments. I think, obviously the child lifting the mud horn, but other than that,
oh man, the egg, those
egg.
Jaw was chanting for that egg, man. I was so excited. It was so funny to me.
That is really funny. I did like the negotiation scene between the two of them and him, trying to
blow him up,
burn him alive. But
the tone of this show is so good.
Oh, it's perfect.
That's why I like it so much.
It's a perfect tone, and it is Star Wars at its best. Like the reason why people don't like the prequels, and especially Episode 3, is that it's very dark, it's very serious, and that's not Star Wars. Like Star Wars to me is like, going in the cantina and seeing this band of random aliens playing random instruments. Like,
yes.
Yeah, and again, it's Han Solo cracking wise and, laugh it up, fuzzball, and like just doing that whole shtick.
Yeah.
And we're getting that now in the series, and we haven't had it for a while. I think Force Awakens and Last Jedi are doing it pretty well.
Rogue One had it in, what was the Alan Tudyk played the robot on there.
Yes, he was hilarious.
And that was funny.
Yeah.
And that made things good. That made things pretty solid too.
You need some comic relief in these series, in the movies or TV series. It doesn't matter, and they're bringing it in spades, man. I'm finding myself laughing 3, 4, 5, 6 times in an episode.
Yes.
And that's, I think it needs that. And I'm just enjoying it. Every joke lands. Like I don't care how many times he says "I have spoken." I laugh every single time.
Pretty good. Now I will say this. I bet you get a real serious thing the next one. I bet it's something really gritty.
Yeah.
My prediction.
But, yeah. Possible.
Well, cool. I'm excited. I love the show. Like I think it's great.
I think the bounty hunter is going to keep coming. There's no stopping all these guys going after this thing. I think they're just going to keep coming.
I think so too. I think you're going to get a lot of bounty hunters. Like I think that ending with the other bounty hunters kind of trying to jump him for it.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get that. I think you're going to get a lot of that.
Yeah.
So.
Real quick, we've got just a couple more minutes. What else are you watching on Disney Plus?
What's the name of the Imaginarium? No, the Imaginarium.
The Imagineers.
Imaginarium. Imagineers?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's basically it takes you to the beginning. Go to the title page. Go to the shows thing on this. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That and then Miller and I watched Darkwing Duck, which was the very first episode of Darkwing Duck.
Great.
I have not found Darkwing Duck online anywhere, and it's quite hard to do. Imagineering, the Imagineering story.
Okay.
Darn good if you like the history of things. I am here. Understand this about me. Walt Disney, a hero of mine because of he's from Missouri. Not really rich beginnings, but guys, he created literally. We're sitting here talking about this. He created so many things, and it's from his mind. and he made a huge thing. So it's all about the history of that. The first episode is all about Disneyland and the creation of Disneyland and just all the things. So I like that a lot on there. A lot of the old cartoon stuff that's on there is really cool. I cannot believe that all the things are on Disney Plus are on Disney
it's great. I've heard some people complaining like, "Oh, where's this? Where's this?" I'm like, dude, just enjoy the riches that are on there right now, and that stuff.
I can't imagine. Again, that's probably the same people.
Yeah.
That are complaining about error. Well, there's 4 billion people trying to log onto one website at the same time.
So I've only been watching, other than, so I mentioned last episode that my daughter's 3 years old. So she thinks the Disney Plus service is the greatest thing she's ever seen. She is absolutely in love with basically every single show that has ever aired on Disney Junior. So
think about that.
Those are all of her favorite shows.
It's nuts.
We've been watching a lot of Doc McStuffins.
Yeah.
At our house, there's just been constant Doc McStuffins machine.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, after the 3-year-old goes to bed, I had never gone back. I've never ever watched a single episode of the Clone Wars TV series.
It's great, man.
I'm 4 episodes into season 1, and I am hooked.
I love it.
I'm hooked.
I think I've watched every episode. There's some in the middle that I kind of got water in. I like the second season, I think, better than the first.
Yeah.
So
dude, even the first season has been amazing.
It's darn good. So
I'm sure it gets better and better.
just saying.
I can't wait to get to the Mandalorian stuff. I believe that's in season 4. Someone can correct us, but I want to get to Star Wars Rebels eventually. But I really want to get through the Clone Wars first, and I know that's going to take me the next probably 4 to 5 months. As we record this episode, I'll give you guys updates on how I'm doing on the Clone Wars. But I've really enjoyed it so far. I've already seen General Grievous. I've already seen Count Dooku and Anakin and Ahsoka, like all the main characters from the prequel movies and stuff like that already have been in the show, and I'm hooked, man. I can't wait to learn more about them.
What's interesting too, last thing before we go here, Disney Plus is kind of already like how Netflix kind of started to change television, and how it was like, oh well, now you can get shows and movies this way, and you don't have to pay for cable and that sort of thing. Man, Disney Plus now it's like they've taken that model that they used through the Disney Channel on cable, through movie rights to things, and said, look, we're just going to take this. You're going to pay us this amount of money. You are going to completely detour around those other means on cable on the wall.
Right.
And this is already starting to change television.
Oh yeah.
And so that's kind of scary because I think that it's kind of weird because now when you think about Netflix, and I hate to say this, but now you think about Netflix, you're like, it's not quite as good as it was. What are we really watching on there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then there's a lot of good shows on there, and there's still value to it. But now you're like, well, it's $12.99, and this is $6.99, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
That just shows you how rich Disney is. They can just be like, hey, here's this product. It's actually probably worth $20 a month, but we're gonna give it to you for $6.99.
We're out of time for today.
Yes.
On the next episode, I want us to do this topic. When will, if they ever will, when will Disney Plus raise their price?
They will. They'll have to raise it at some point.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next episode. If you, listener, have any ideas about Disney Plus, we want to hear what you've been watching. We want to know your thoughts on Disney Plus. Will they raise their price at some point? Whatever. We will go ahead and let you do that. Right now, just leave us 5-star reviews on iTunes. That's the best way for people to know about the show. In those reviews, tell us some of your thoughts. I will get an email going pretty soon for the show so that you can write into the show. We'd love to take emails and respond to our listeners as well. So please do that. But in the meantime, watch The Mandalorian, enjoy some other stuff on Disney Plus, and we will be back at you next Monday.
Oh, yeah. See you soon. Bye-bye.